used to be running expeditions in other countries, and now he's moved back to London, and he set up this really cool company that does really exciting things, like you can book with all your friends to go night swimming in the Lido in Hackney or canoeing under Tower Bridge. So he's going to come and tell us about his whole gig.
Hi, so my adventure starts in Tanzania. So I used to lead school groups internationally, and I was doing that for a while, and I was sort of getting a bit older, and I sort of thought I needed to put down some roots. So I came back to London, and I was working from a shared workspace off Mare Street, and I was doing freelance youth work and sort of adventure stuff, but it was November, there wasn't really much going on, and I remember going onto Google Maps and zooming out of Mare Street and finding an island just north of the M25. And I thought, okay, I can find adventure on this island in this lake. There are about 5 islands on this lake. So I sent round an email to the other people that worked in the workspace, and I said, who would like to cycle out of London under the M25, go to the pub, hide our bikes in some bushes, and under the cover of darkness swim across to this island and wild camp around a fire. And I thought, because I was so much in sort of adventure mode, I thought I was peculiar and maybe 2 people would go, yeah, but actually 12 people were like, yes, I want to do it. So off we went, swam across to this island, having hid our bikes. Most of them got punches, I remember, because of the thorns in the bushes, but that was all part of the fun. And we had the island to ourselves that night. So, own private island just north of the M25, absolutely beautiful, obviously top secret island. Wild camping is technically illegal in England, but legal in Scotland, as long as you're sort of respectful of your environment and it's fun, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really matter. So that was the first adventure, and that really sparked the whole idea of finding adventure here in London. The second story I'd like to tell you about, it actually then led to a concert, and there's a website called 28 Days Later, which basically lists all sorts of urban exploration spaces in London. And this venue here is a bit like a cave itself, and it feels like a mini adventure because hopefully you're meeting new people, which is all part of the joy of participating in these sorts of things. But anyway, I heard about this space, and basically what I did is I got a few people together, and a few journalists as well, and we kayaked from the canal path in Camden under a big building where there's this big, large, cavernous space, sort of dank, dark, cavernous space. And to the far left-hand corner of this space, there's a door or a sort of wooden partition that's slightly ajar. And we crept through the door with these sort of torch lanterns, which will come up in the photos in a second. And had a dinner party and had some drinks, and part of the group on this adventure were the musicians who then performed later that evening. So they were part of the people in the canoes and all that stuff, but then there they were standing up and singing the most beautiful songs with no electricity, no sort of accompaniment, just completely live and acoustic to torchlight and candlelight. And it set the little hairs up on the back of my neck. It was really something very beautiful. The Huffington Post described it as coming back into Camden by canoe after the event, described it as like returning from Narnia and the best concert they'd ever been to. And I think that was really to do with the spirit of the thing and not just the fact of it, if you see what I mean. So that's the second adventure. The final adventure for me that I'll explain to you. The reason I've chosen this one because I'm trying to sort of touch on why adventure is exciting or important. Because you could think, well, it's just sort of larking around, which it obviously is. But there's something special about adventure and connected to childhood for me. And it's about exploring new places is all part of learning. And even though I'm now 39, when I'm feeling at my best, I'm feeling that I'm still exploring. So whether it's coming to an event like this, hearing people that are talking about their adventures or the businesses that they're doing or new things or how you make a leaf with a tattoo pen or whatever, it's all part of that process. So the final story although it didn't take place in London, for me is a very London adventure. It was a group of young people from the Children's Charity Kids Company that I used to work for, who'd been expelled from school and then expelled from expulsion units. They were 15 years old, and I was responsible for organising an adventure for these young people. So I put a lot of time and effort into it. I remember at one stage the organisation that I worked for, the head of sort of safeguarding, told me that it was cancelled due to safety reasons and concerns because the young people weren't out of control or whatever. I was in a real flush of enthusiasm. I persuaded her to sort of back down, and off we went. Luckily most of the young people actually didn't turn up. And we just had 2 young people and 3 members of staff. And actually 3 members of staff for those particular 2 young people was about right, the ratio. I remember when we arrived, it was this beautiful palatial white sort of cream building. It used to be like a country house in the Lake District. We had the whole place to ourselves. And we arrived, we showed them around the place, and the young people were like, you know, this is shit. You know, it doesn't look like how it looks on the website. I'm going home. And they sort of packed up their little wheelie bags and just started walking down the drive. And me and the other 2 staff had spent a lot of time chasing these particular young people around the centre that we worked at. So we were like, okay, we're not going to chase them around the centre, we've done that before, and we realised if we chase them around the centre, that's part of the adventure and part of the fun, and it'll just go on forever. So we just sat there and watched them wheeling their little bags down the drive. Luckily in time they did actually come back, and we made them feel comfortable with the space and sort of settled them down and made sure, you know, their very particular needs were sort of cared for. And then we went off on these amazing adventures. So swimming in a lake, this was around Easter time, it's freezing cold, which they really enjoyed, bouldering, exploring all sorts of places. But in a way, again, the detail doesn't really matter. It was just about them being free out of London, out of the constraints of London, and about exploring and just being an actual 15-year-old as opposed to a 15-year-old who's constantly in trouble or constantly finding it difficult to relate in the world and relate to other people because of some of their experiences. So on the last night, this particular story now, I think for me, really sums up the pleasure and excitement of adventure, and this is why I do it, and this is why I'm excited about it. So on the last night, we lit a fire, and we cooked some food over the fire, and we were sat there. It was really, really relaxing, and I remember suddenly one of the young people, he took off his shirt, sort of quite furiously, and threw it in the fire. And we were like, why did you do that? And he was like, so being away for these few days has made me think about my life back at home and about how my dad used to beat up my mother. And it's given me time to think about myself and my life, and what I want to be is, I don't want to be the sort of man that beats up his wife or his girlfriend. So this is me making that statement now. I'm throwing this shirt on the fire to tell you all, I never want to be that person. So although it's an extreme example, the best sort of adventure, whether it's coming here this evening or whether it's going to the Secret concert, kayaking on the Tower Bridge or swimming across to an island, is something that takes you out of your ordinary routine and enables you to think about your life in a different way. And that's really the joy and excitement of adventure. So my final thing to you is enjoy the rest of the evening, and if you do ever want to come on a secret adventure or whatever, feel free to Google it. It's up on the on the old net. Thank you very much for listening.
Has actually been amazing, and then I'm a bit obsessed with Instagram at the moment, but it's brilliant, and it's just, if it wasn't for social media, I don't know how people would find me. And then just running workshops for lots of people has been amazing, because I get a lot of work through that, and from people that I meet at those workshops. So for example, I did a class I do a regular class at Drink Shop Do in King's Cross, this really cool little bar where you can do something different every night, and there was a PR girl there, and she's just got me to print, so this week I printed 200 tote bags for her press event, and it was just really so I just meet so many people, and it's all about who you talk to, but it all kind of stems from social networking. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well done.